Hi, my name is Joy Macdonell. I'm a teacher, a designer, and host of Crafting at the Spotted Canary. And today we're going to make a super cute half apron that we used a basic pattern for, and we just made a few adjustments to make it really sweet. Let me show you what it looks like. It has some drop pockets that are adorable. These, we added a little bit of bias tape instead of rickrack, and they make a cute little entryway here for your hand, and then also a nice little scallop edge on our apron. And the scallop edge allowed us to play with some of the prints and designs that are in the fabrics, and then brought the bow around to the front to tie right there in the front. So it's a cute half apron to wear for your next party that you're giving. And let me show you how we started. We began with a piece of bias tape, and bias tape is really important because you need a piece of fabric that's really nice and stretchy. You don't want a fabric that is it doesn't have a lot of pull, because we're going to go around the curve of our fabric. When you work with fabric, your grain is either has a stretch or it doesn't really have a stretch. And the idea of a piece of bias is that you're going on an angle and you're getting the maximum amount of that curve. So on this example, I've already got my fabric cut on a 45-degree angle, and I'm cutting 1.5 inches of the fabric so that I get that nice clean edge there. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut with this. And that gives me my strip. Now I've got one that's made, and I'm going to show you how we create that into a bias piece here. I've got a bias maker, and this little piece is very helpful. This will help us get those edges so that our two edges are nicely folded in, and we get a piece of tape that actually turns out to be about 1 inch, where there's 1/4 inch folded in on either side. You simply slide the edge of your tape right into the bias maker, and then a hot iron with good steam is always really important, and you give a little pull and your fabric will go right into the shape that you need, and then you iron it right down, and your bias tape is created nice and easily. Now there are 2 different ways you could apply this to your apron, and I've done something a little bit different on each one, and I want to show you what that looks like on the front. I'm going to move these pieces out of the way, and I'm going to show you on the front piece of my piece that I've cut. And when you cut it, it's cut down the center. And each one of these pockets, I've added the bias tape. And on one, I added the bias tape so that it came around to the outside of the apron. And on the other side over here, the bias tape goes to the inside of the apron. Now you can make your own bias tape on the machine as well. Either way, I like to use the little fold that's right here as my seam guidance. So as I'm coming around, this is a piece that I've just cut. It's got the pattern on it. I'm just going to remove that. And as I'm sewing, I'm going to come around that edge and use that fold as my example of exactly where my seam allowance should go. So I'm going to line up my raw edges and then sew along that folded edge. Fold that to the inside, and then that's when I get that piece on the inside where I'm actually going to stitch along that edge. And here's one to the inside. So I stitched right along this edge, and then I moved my needle over just a little bit and stitched right next to it. So I got an edge that has 2 seams and looks nice and finished. And now my next favorite part is the scallop edge that goes around the apron. So I'm going to scoot all of this to the side, and I'm going to show you how we created that edge. And I'm going to show you on my example in here, we're going to make some half circles that we're going to sew into a chain, and then those half circles get attached to the edge of the apron. We'll sew our pieces together, and then we'll turn it all right side around, and it'll look gorgeous. Now I want to show you how I cut the circles, because there are times where I go into my kitchen and I pull out the little teacups and the different things that I can trace to make circles, but there's also a tool that can help me make circles a little bit easier, and it will cut them for me. It has a blade that's very sharp on either side and will cut right through my fabric. The only thing that I need to do is make sure that I have some freezer paper on top of the fabric first. Now the freezer paper you can purchase at the grocery store, where you would find the plastic wraps and the aluminum foils and those sorts of things. So I'm gonna just go ahead and put my fabric down. It does not matter if I put this to the right side or the wrong side. I think today I'm just gonna put it to the wrong side. And I have a nice big piece of freezer paper. Now what's unique about this paper is it has a waxy side and it has a dull side. So I'm gonna put the waxy side towards the fabric and then go ahead and iron these two together. Now you don't have to worry about if your iron has water in it or anything like that. It's okay. It's all right if it has the water, and you can go ahead and do that. And then I'm going to slide this over and use a glass mat. I definitely want to have a piece of glass underneath because the glass is what makes it slide right across there nice and easy. Now I did do an interfacing piece and I cut that at 3 inches, and then I cut this piece at 3 1/4 inches. And I need 16 of these circles. So I'm going to cut right around, and I'll do a couple of these real quick. And then we'll have that. You can see how easily that went right through there, how that went right around. And I want to show you my circles now. Here we go. And that freezer paper comes right off. So I'm going to take 2 of these and put them side by side, and then 1 on top, my interfacing. And this is the 3-inch size. And then I am going to go ahead and take this to the machine and sew right around that circle right there. So let's go over here to the machine, and I'm using that piece that I have as my guidance, so I don't have to worry about where exactly that's gonna stitch. And it doesn't have to be perfect, because right as you're going along, this whole piece, it doesn't matter, because once we turn it right side around, it will look adorable. And the scallop edge can have a little bit of flexibility to it. It doesn't have to be perfect. So I'm just gonna sew right around, and I am sewing the whole piece closed. And you might be worried, like, how's she gonna turn that around the right way? But I'm gonna show you how I do that. So we're just gonna sew that and cut that right off and lift the presser foot. Beautiful. Now I'm gonna go over here, and I'm gonna take that freezer paper circle that I had, fold that in half, and with my scissors, I'm gonna cut this. And then, to make myself a little cheating template, I'm gonna take my ruler and tape my piece to the ruler. And this helps me because if you've ever tried to cut a circle in half, you know it can be very tricky to cut that circle in half. So we're just gonna take this, we're gonna set this down, and then I'm gonna get my rotary cutter, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and cut this right in half using that template. And see how easy that is to now cut that piece in half. And now we want to just turn these right side around, and we have that interfacing in there so that they get a little bit of body to them. So I'm going to turn these both inside out, and I'm going to go ahead and iron them flat. So this one, and you can use a point turner if you want to get that nice piece in there, but I'm just going to go ahead and iron these, and then we're going to sew these together as a chain so that we have a whole chain of these. And so I'm going to go back to the machine and create my chain. And now I went ahead and I sewed all the way down the edge because I wanted this to be kind of closed and to fit into the piece well. I do stay right on that edge because I didn't want to have any raw edges coming out. So you would sew all 16, which is 32 of those pieces together. And then when you have all those sewn together, they go right into the inside of your piece here, and it does go to the wrong side. Then I take that back to the machine and I finish sewing down this whole side, and then I turn it the right way, and I have this adorable little apron with this totally cute scallop edge right here. And the one piece goes right on top of the other so that you get those fun prints that come together. And you have this edge, and I just did the waistband right on the top. Added the waistband, had it go all the way around the waist. And all of this information is online, so you can find all of the steps right there. Look for fun prints and patterns and make yourself a cute hostess apron.